I'm Batman.
You can call me Joker. Antoine got a little hot under the collar.
Time to pay the check.
Tell me, kid, you ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight?
All right, Alex, we got Batman 1989 first up on the docket. We're doing a little double feature this episode because I had a really busy fucking weekend. I just didn't feel like doing anything. So we never recorded last week.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And also, these are like two like not hard movies to watch, but they're kind of dense. And as well, we had to kind of figure out what the fuck we were gonna do. There's a lot of Batman movies, and the idea of like, oh, let's review all these Batman movies. We're gonna break them down and compare them or whatever is like a great idea. But then, as I was watching this, I started really thinking to myself, I was like, man, these movies are all really different.
And we're also doing these. We're doing these on purpose because we're going to finish up and it's going to line up with the new Batman movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the option of taking a week off and coming back. So that is also another reason why we're doing this double feature on this one, is because we have to have both of these done by this weekend, or it all completely just fucks. And, but that's how we run things. We are very unorganized, very procrastinative. If that's a word, probably not.
When people start fucking paying us to do this, then I will stop being procrastinative.
Yeah, you want to give me money and I will do this whenever the fuck you want me to do it. But until then, no, I'm going to do it whenever I feel like it. And so here we go. Batman 1989. This movie was directed by Tim Burton. It was produced by John Peters, and I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, I'm sure. Peter Goober. I don't care if that's the wrong pronunciation or not. That's fucking hilarious. This movie was distributed by Warner Brothers, and it had a nationwide release June 23rd, 1989, with a runtime of 126 minutes, a budget of $35 to $48 million, and a box office of $411.6 million.
This was the number one film of 1989.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. By a shit ton. This was one of the first movies that ever, like, at least so if you account for inflation when you're looking at box office scores and whatnot, there's a lot of older movies that blew their budget out of the water, but this was the first like modern movie that you saw have literally like a 10-time return on their budget. And I personally believe that if this movie had not made as much money as it did, I don't think the superhero genre exists in movies.
No, absolutely not. And we'll get a little more into the numbers on the second one, Batman Returns. But if this movie didn't make as much as it did, the second one, we'll get there. I don't want to ruin how much the Batman Returns made, but less with a bigger budget is what we'll say for now.
Yeah, no, less with a much larger budget.
This movie stars Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman, Jack Nicholson as Jack Napier / the Joker, and Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. Any thoughts before we dive into the movie about those three and their performances in this movie?
Yeah, so I actually have thoughts about each of them related to their performance and a couple other things. So fun fact, Kim Basinger. Kim Basinger was I don't know how to pronounce her last name, whatever.
I think it's Bassinger.
She was Bassinger. She was approached to be Vicky a year or so before this began filming. And her agent told John Peters that she wouldn't even meet with him about it unless he sent them an offer up front. And so she at least knew how much money they might be talking about. And John Peters kept saying, no, when I meet with her, I will give her offer, da 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 da. And so Kim and John Peters ended up never meeting, and ended up she wasn't going to be in the movie, period. And so, she wasn't going to be in the movie. They moved on from her. And I'm trying to actually find the name of the actress who filled in for her, or not filled in. I did not write it down. Another actress came in, and during practicing for this, and they were practicing a scene at Wayne Manor where she was going to ride a horse. The actress fell off and broke her collarbone. And so this was a week before filming was actually set to start. And so they called Kim Basinger again, and they said, "Hey, can you come back and help us out here?" And so she ended up taking it a week before filming started. And so if not a lot of folks, but some folks have noticed that on the original movie poster for this, her name at the bottom is in a little box. And that's because after they went back and they had pre-made these posters before production, basically went through production, realized, oh shit, we have this other actress's name still on here. And so they just kind of pasted Kim's name onto it and didn't really do any editing to make it not stand out. And so her name is just surrounded by a box on all of these posters from this movie. In terms of her performance, she was fine. She served her purpose. I have some credibility issues with her and the other journalists in this movie for not knowing what the fuck Bruce Wayne looks like.
Yeah. Did not really like Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale in this movie. And I don't know if I can really give you a reason as to why. It's just watching it. It never really clicked with me. She felt very off.
Yep.
And that's honestly that I don't even know if that's her fault. I think that's a problem that I had with both of these movies. They both felt very off. They didn't really click with me at any point.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. There are certain parts of these movies that work really well, like Nicholson as the Joker and really Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman. But when it comes to the actual story itself, it feels very just thrown together, especially, and this is something I wanted to get into, when you compare it to the way comic book movies are done today, where they have such deeply written and intricate plots. I mean, you compare the plot of this to the plot of The Dark Knight, and it's like looking at a high school drama versus a Broadway show.
It took a long time for me to honestly even try to get where they were trying to get with the movie. I mean, it had to have been a solid 35 minutes in before it had any iota of a clear direction of which way it was going to go. And that's another thing is this movie is much more a Joker movie than it is a Batman movie.
Well, yeah, and I was going to bring this up. Jack Nicholson is the top billed person for this movie.
Yes.
And that's basically because, so here's another little fun fact about some of the casting going into this. Robin Williams was originally supposed to play the Joker. And during the, he had even accepted the role, and they were getting ready to start doing the production to do costume and stuff like that before they actually started filming. And then Williams found out that they actually had approached Jack Nicholson beforehand about it and were using Robin Williams as bait to basically be like, well, Robin Williams wanted to do it. Why would you not want to do it? And so Robin Williams left, and he was like, fuck you guys, took his ball and went home. So they brought in Jack Nicholson, which it sounds like was who they originally wanted. But what ended up happening was they really did want Robin Williams to play the Riddler in the future sequel. And he refused to come back. He refused to come back for any WB movies in general. He was just that upset over it. And I mean, I can't blame him. He was basically used as bait to convince Jack Nicholson that playing the Joker was a good role.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. There are also a few other names that I saw linked to the Joker role in this movie. I saw probably maybe 6 or 7 names thrown around, but I've only got 3 down that really stood out to me as like, wow. Number 1, before I get into that, Jack Nicholson over Robin Williams as Joker. Much better move. I love Robin Williams, but Jack Nicholson fucking killed this role as Joker. But 3 names that I saw linked to the name were Tim Curry, David Bowie, and Ray Liotta.
Ugh.
Yeah. So the first 2, like Tim Curry and David Bowie, that sounds incredible. And I would have loved to see either one of those 2 as Joker.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta confuses me. And I feel like they went with Ray Liotta more so for the like gangster background that they were going with in this movie for Joker / Jack Napier, rather than the Joker side of it, which would have been cool for the first 10 minutes. Because after that, it's just Joker. It's not Jack Napier. So it would have been really fucking weird with Ray Liotta.
Like, could you fucking imagine Ray Liotta with the Joker laugh? Oh.
And like, and I love Ray Liotta, but no, that's not a role for him. I also saw a name linked to the role of Batman. And I have thoughts about Michael Keaton as Batman that I'll get into a little bit later. Willem Dafoe was nearly casted as Batman.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. Now you have me craving a movie that'll never fucking exist. Like I want a Batman movie with Willem Dafoe as Bruce Wayne and David Bowie as the Joker.
Yes.
That sounds fucking insane and amazing.
Marvel has the What If series on Disney Plus, and I would absolutely love like a What If DC series with Willem Dafoe as Batman and Tim Curry as Joker. And then there's some other castings in Batman Returns that I saw as well that were fucking insane, but we'll get into that when we get into that. But dude, yeah. And some of the people they almost had casted for this movie it would have been such a different feel. And I don't know if I can really say for a positive or negative, but I really liked Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
I did not like him as Batman.
Well, it's really hard to be an effective Batman when you can't turn your fucking head.
Right. Right.
When you have to spend the entire movie shifting your whole body in order to look at the bad guy. Yeah. It just doesn't work. Like it felt weird. And yeah, I kind of going back to what you said about you don't know if changing the casting would have changed anything in this movie. If you had changed the casting and kept the exact same script, I don't think anything would have changed because, like you said, Michael Keaton was an awesome Bruce Wayne. And Jack Nicholson was a great Joker. The fact of the matter was, though, is that the story they were given it almost didn't fit how good of an actor both of them are.
Exactly. And that's kind of, I hate talking so much about the next movie, but we're doing it in the same episode, so it's still on my brain. But a lot of what we're saying for this movie, if not almost everything, is going to translate over to Batman Returns as well, but dialed up to the next level. Yeah.
And so one other little casting tidbit that I wanted to bring up, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent. There's a lot of controversy around this because when he was brought in under a 3-film contract that included him becoming Two-Face eventually. Yes. And we get to the 3rd movie and they decided, no, we want Tommy Lee Jones to be Two-Face. And Billy D. Williams was pissed. And like they had to buy him out of his contract. It was a whole big thing. But they'd been basically grooming him for that role. And then out of nowhere, they took it away. Okay, so sorry about that. Sam's desk literally just collapsed on him in the middle of us talking.
Yeah, apologies for that. We lost track of where we're at. I am so sorry.
I believe I had been discussing the Billy D. Williams thing at the time.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Billy D. Williams was cast as Harvey Dent, and then got kicked out in favor of Tommy Lee Jones, evidently. And I don't want to be that guy, But this was still the period of time where I think the reaction to having a non-white actor play a white villain would have been pretty strong. And I wonder if that had something to do with it. And I don't agree with it. I don't like it because I think Billy D. Williams would have been a fucking dope.
It'd have been great.
Two-Face. But we're talking about, the 89, 90s in here. So
here's my thing with that though and that movie is, I guess technically it is the next episode. I did really fucking like Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face.
Yeah.
But, circumstances, I actually didn't know any of that. That's the first time I've actually heard anything about that. That does kind of sour it a little bit.
Well, and I'm going to be interested to watch the third movie and see how I feel. It is my recollection that between the second movie and the third movie, you could basically assume that it's an entirely new universe.
Yes, but as far as I understand from what I've read, so the director's change after Batman and Batman Returns, Tim Burton drops out, I don't think drops out as much as maybe got fired.
I think that the direction they wanted to go in started to change because I think they realized, and again, we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but I really feel like these first three movies, you can all kind of group them together a little bit. They realized the marketing potential of it, of Batman, and how much kids' toys make. And so once you get to third one, it basically just becomes a cash grab. And I don't think Tim Burton was going to make a cash grab of a movie.
No, absolutely not. And I guess while we're on the topic of Tim Burton, I messaged you last night, and let me go to the message so I can read verbatim what I said to you. Let's see. Sorry for the awkward pauses here. I'm having to use my phone and I'm not good at that. So you told me, and this was last night at 7:34 Eastern time. You told me that you wanted to discuss viewing movies in the context of the time versus viewing them in the context of today, which we are definitely going to discuss. I told you verbatim, I'm not so much struggling with how dated the movie is, just how much I dislike certain aspects of the way a certain person involved in the direction of the movie does it. Which gets me to my biggest gripe for both of these movies. I fucking hate Tim Burton. I don't like the way he does fucking anything.
Yeah.
He is, and I guess I can't really say that. I can definitely say this actually, because he's the reason that they fucking exist. He's those girls you went to school with that based their entire personality off of A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it so much. Being dark for the purpose of being dark sucks so fucking much. I hated the way that both of these movies felt. And that's not me saying that I don't like dark movies. I fucking love dark movies. We're going to get to it. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies of all time. I fucking love that movie. It's dark as fuck. Tim Burton's goofy. I hate it so fucking much.
So, to kind of counterpoint you a little bit, one, that is one of the biggest problems with this movie is it doesn't necessarily feel like a Batman movie. It feels like a Tim Burton movie. And that is one of the problems that I think a lot of people have with most of Tim Burton's films is that you don't feel like you're watching a movie that was a director found the actors that he wanted to portray his story. You feel like you are watching the director force the story on you in the way that he wants.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton does that a lot. In Tim Burton's defense, there are a lot of things about this movie that I personally love. One of the things is the Batman music, that classic Danny Elfman score that started here. And I love that. And the other thing that I love that you might necessarily not be as crazy about, I personally love the great gothic 90s, 80s aesthetic of Gotham. I love the way that every site you see, there's steam coming up. There's all these industrial, very metallic looking buildings. I love that look for Batman. And so for me personally, Tim Burton was a good choice in that aspect, where I enjoy the aesthetic aspects of what he brought to it, even down to little things. One of my notes that I made here was he loved using the dramatic cape shot throughout the movie, where you
Yes,
see Batman
he did.
coming down and the cape is flowing and he looks like a bat. And he definitely overdid it in this, but I love that shot, and that's a shot that gets remade in basically every single Batman
Yep.
movie.
I loved
and
the
so-
cape shot, like the first, like in the first 5-10 minutes that they did it.
Yeah.
And it's in the intro because I really did love that shot. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna shit on. I did enjoy this movie. Maybe not to the degree that I wanted to, but I did like this movie. I liked it more than the second one. I agree with you on the aesthetic of the city. A dark Gotham, I think, fits not only just Batman, but like the city itself. Like the city itself is even in the comics, much disarray. Gotham City is fucked.
Yep.
And it's like the slums, and that's why Batman is there. He's there to protect that city because everyone else has pretty much forgotten about it. And while we're on the subject, I mentioned comics, and we are obviously doing a comic book movie, and we are going to do more comic book movies in the future, including the rest of the Batman series. I myself personally do not want to stress comic book accuracy when it comes to these movies, not just Batman, but any comic book movie. Because some things from comic books just don't translate well to film. And some things in film are better than in the comics. However, there are core values to these comic book characters. Batman being one of those characters that has a core value that I feel gets broken too many times. He does not kill people. Now, Alex, in this movie, Batman releases a bomb in a warehouse 3 inches in front of someone's foot and blows up the entire warehouse, killing everyone inside.
Yep. And you want to know something? I loved it. I fucking hate Batman who doesn't kill.
It's not one of those things that's like going to cause me to immediately shit on the movie, because it really didn't bother me that much. There is a movie in this series where that is going to bother me. But that's much later. That's actually the last Batman movie we're going to do before the new Batman. But it doesn't bother me so much that he kills people. It's I'm only mentioning it because it is one of those things, and I'm going to contradict myself, because yes, that is a core value of Batman, but it wasn't done in such a way that it was like they never confirmed that he killed anyone. I am simply, in my eyes, he definitely killed everyone in that warehouse.
Yeah.
No, but that was never confirmed.
I think you can pretty well assume he doesn't. So in regards to the comic accuracy thing, I'm completely with you. I've read, I like comics. I've got subscriptions to be able to do the DC and Marvel comics. And I read them here or there. But I always like to read whatever comics the movies are supposedly gonna use their basis from. And I think that what comic book movies, and specifically movies like the Marvel movies, have done well is taking a comic book story and keeping the same basic overarching line, but changing it and making it better and making it fit movie. And so like this movie, a lot of it is based around a couple of different Batman storylines, namely the Batman Year One storyline of him, of his first year as the Caped Crusader, and then as well the Under the Red Hood storyline. And the Under the Red Hood storyline is actually the Joker's origin story. And now this movie does not follow either of those storylines accurately, but it doesn't need to. it created its own thing. And I think that that's something that comic book movies in general have to find the right balance of. But the thing that I will agree with you on is that, and we'll see this in some of the later movies in this series, is Batman will have the whole, oh, I don't kill or no guns or whatever credo. But you see a lot of times where you're like, yeah, that guy's probably dead. And so for me, I prefer they do it like the way that this movie did it, where they never bring it up.
Yeah, it's implied.
They don't ever talk about
but
it.
It's not like confirmed. It's not a major point of the story. I'm going to throw the movie under the fucking bus right now. Batman versus Superman. Batman's fucking murdering dudes. Like straight murdering dudes.
Literally murdering people.
Look, I'm already getting heated on that movie and we're not even fucking there yet. So just wait until you fucking get there. I'm going to lose my mind. Anyway, another thing I noticed about this movie is Commissioner Gordon is very throwaway.
Yes.
He does not matter until like him and Batman don't even work together until right at the very end. He gets the bat signal, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I didn't either. Gordon is supposed to feel like, like Batman's man in the chair in a way. Alfred is to an extent, but Gordon is the man on the streets. This movie really just makes Gordon kind of feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. One of my biggest issues with this movie is that it does feel like literally everyone other than Batman is a moron.
Yes.
And I feel like that was intentional to really be like, look at how smart this man is. But the same token is everyone's so stupid that they literally don't know who the richest person in their city is.
Yeah. And that's another thing too that I didn't really like too much about this is Bruce Wayne is just a guy that's rich in this movie. Whereas in like every other movie and in the comics, Bruce Wayne is this huge public figure in Gotham City. And he's known for like, helping the community out, donating to these big like charities, community centers, all this shit. But in this movie, he's just a guy that has money. And like you said, Vicky Vale and editor or the Knox guy, I can't remember his first name.
Alexander Knox.
Yes, they go to Wayne Manor for that big party. They don't know who the fuck he is.
Like, what kind of fucking journalist are you that you want to go? You're going to this party because they said they were going to go find Gordon, but you go to this party at this man's house and you don't even know who the fuck he is. You don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, you don't. Like, you don't question why Commissioner Gordon would go to this guy's house. You just go to this guy's house.
And you're telling me that like your paper that you work for has never had a picture of Bruce fucking Wayne in it?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But with that being said, let's get into a little recap of the movie real quick. We're going to kind of just do a pretty bare bones recap here, just because this is one of those movies that pretty much everyone has seen it. And if you haven't by this point, there's a reason that you haven't seen it. So we do start off with a really fucking long credits intro scene that's about 2 minutes of the original Danny Elfman Batman score. We get to see the layout of Gotham. We see how dark and gloomy and steampunk-esque it is. And we eventually get to an opening scene involving two parents and a young boy who I think everyone immediately goes, oh, this is Batman's origin story. And when they couldn't get in a cab, instead of doing what most smart people do, which is just waiting for another cab, this dad decides they're going to walk across town through the back alleys to get home with his family. And so, of course, they get mugged, beat up a little bit. We cut away. We see the muggers sharing the spoils that they have and talking about the fear of the bat. And then we get our first look at Batman, and it was done in this scene that was animated, where it's like the top of a building looking down.
I saw that and I was like, fuck, like this is what we're gonna get. And we really didn't get too many shots like that, but there were more shots like that in this movie where it was just this really awkward. Tim Burton animation.
Yes,
Like,
Tim
that's-
Burton animation is the only way to describe it.
Yeah, it looks so weird.
We do get to hear, the classic line from at least one person, but the bat ain't real. And then we get our first dramatic back cape of the movie as he comes down and beats up these two thugs. I love the fact that this Batman is not necessarily good at stopping robbers or returning money to people, but hey, at least he beats them up after the fact. So
He looks really cool.
there's that.
And we get the classic "I'm Batman."
Yes, we get our first.
Not as cool as the ones we'll get later on, but pretty solid.
It was the first one though, and can't blame him for setting a trend. We are quickly introduced at a Harvey Dent fundraiser played by Billy D. Williams once again. He's going to wipe out the crime and such. Gordon is introduced. This is not a very smart or intelligent Gordon. We are then introduced to Jack Napier, aka the man who's going to become the Joker, played by Jack Nicholson. Watching the telecast, Jack Nicholson's Jack Napier is sleeping with his boss, the crime boss Grissom's girlfriend. He's just a bad guy. And he's worrying about his appearance. And at one point, the girl goes, "You look fine." And he goes, "I didn't ask." We then cut back to the crime scene of the two people that have been beat up as we are introduced to corrupt cop Lieutenant Eckhart. And we are also introduced to Alexander Knox, the reporter, who is obsessed with the bat. Eckhart all of a sudden gets called over to a corner in this alley where we see that Jack is there, and he hands him a sack full of cash. We know that Eckhart is being bought off by Jack, but Eckhart is sick of it. He wants to be done with it. He wants to get out.
Something about Eckhart's lines. I don't know the name of the actor who played him in this movie. Not so much the scene with Jack, but the scene before that with Knox. His voice is unnaturally low and raspy.
You're full of shit, Knox.
And I don't mean like in human way, but in a way that wouldn't have been picked up as clearly as it was with like a boom mic. So I get the feeling that he like redubbed his lines specifically to get that really low, raspy, like it felt really weird because he was the same volume as Knox, who was talking in a natural speaking voice. And then Eckhart's lines were very low and raspy like this. And it was the same volume. And I just know that they dubbed it over. And I don't know why that pissed me off so much, but it was just so strange.
Well, it was just a little goofy. Yeah. His lines were kind of weird. That actor's name is William Hootkins, and he also played a bit role in Star Wars. Fun fact.
Nice.
We cut back after we see Eckhart take his money from Jack, and he's all pissed off. And Reporter Knox is still looking for stories on Batman. He asks if he's a city employee, and then he asks him, "What's he pulling down after taxes?" I just thought that was funny and stupid. We are now at Gotham's 200th anniversary party. We hear that the commissioner really wants to get Grissom arrested. And we cut back to the reporting agency where the journalists are with Alexander Knox. We get introduced to Miss Vicky Vale, the photographer. Alexander Knox looks at her and he goes, "If you want to shoot me nude, you're going to need a really long lens."
Great. Incredible. Just beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, Alexander Knox is the star of this movie, in all honesty. But she says she's here. She wants to see the bat. She knows he's looking for him. And at the Wayne fundraiser, she wants to corner Harvey Dent and Gordon and figure out what the fuck's going on. And Alexander Knox asks her, "Will you marry me?" "No." "Well, will you at least buy me lunch?" Back at the criminal headquarters. He is. He's a very light eater. Back at the criminal headquarters, we see Jack in the classic purple suit. He shows the Joker card to reveal, what's to come. And we hear that Grissom needs Jack to break into this chemical factory to steal some evidence out of a locker there. And so Grissom wants Jack to personally go and do it. But during this, or after we realize that Grissom does know about Jack fucking his girl, and he's probably going to set him up trying to kill Jack. We're at the Wayne party where literally nobody fucking knows who Bruce Wayne is, evidently. Really, really weird. Although I do want to point out that Michael Keaton at this time was really cute and almost too adorable to be Bruce Wayne, but it works.
That's also speaking of Michael Keaton. Anytime we do movies with Michael Keaton, dude, I fucking love Michael Keaton so fucking much. So
Same.
Me saying that I don't really like him much as a Batman, I'm as a Bruce Wayne, incredible.
Yeah.
So for me to say I don't like him as a Batman, just know that that is me being genuine because I fucking love Michael Keaton.
Yep.
And then there's an actor in the next movie that I also just absolutely adore. We'll get there.
During this, we see the journalists try to follow Gordon out as they see that he's onto something, as Gordon hears about the break-in at the chemical factory and he wants to go grab Jack. They go to try to follow Gordon, and I guess they think that he went into this room full of historical items as they're talking about what an asshole Bruce Wayne is, and he walks in, and then he's really fucking nice to him and even gives Knox a grant for the paper. And then you see Alfred come in and say that Gordon had to leave in a emergency, and he takes off. Cut into Access Chemicals. At this point, we kind of met most of our major characters here, and so we're just going to kind of get through most of what the major plot points of what's been happening. But we get to Access Chemicals. Eckert gets there, and he says that he wants everyone to shoot to kill, if you know what I mean. I don't know about you, but when someone says, if you know what I mean, I usually assume that means something different than what they actually told me to do. So if I was those cops, I would have been really confused as to what the point of them being there.
Yeah,
is.
I don't know what you mean, Eckert. What the fuck what are you talking about? Do you want me to kill people or no? Please be clear.
Yeah.
What a shitty line.
Absolutely shitty. There's a lot of shitty lines during this sequence. Gordon's squad shows up because Eckert didn't tell them they were showing up there. Eckert wants to kill Napier. Big dramatic shootout. Eckert and Gordon argue as Eckert is shouting at Gordon through a megaphone, "You're ruining our cover." We get the dramatic bat swing in. He's definitely got a swinging kink, I think. Realistically, this whole movie at any point could have turned into a porno and it wouldn't have shocked me. We get Jack trying to escape. Shootout continues. Batman doing bat stuff. Batman catches Jack, but during the struggle, Jack accidentally gets pushed into a vat of chemicals. And then the bat catches Jack and Bat takes off after knocking Jack into the chemicals. And we do see Jack shoot Eckert right before he falls in, though. We see the hand pop out of the chemicals, so we know that no, he is not dead. We then kind of cut across to another scene where we are in a basement and there's a man covered up with bandages. We can't really see what's going on. And another man is unwrapping him, and you realize that this is Jack, who is now completely chalk white skin. His hair is green. His nails are green. He tries to undergo surgery to repair the damage, but he ends up stuck with a permanent grin. And we see Jack decide that he is the Joker. This scene as a child scared the shit out of me.
Dude, not even this scene, but Jack as Joker with, I guess technically it would be with human makeup on.
I was
dude, yeah. Terrifying. Like, genuinely fucking scary looking, man.
Like, even
so
before, we'll get there in a second, but it's Jack shows up to the Grissom estate pissed off at everyone. And a couple of times throughout the movie, he puts on like skin colored makeup to hide. But the way they did the skin colored makeup, so the white on his skin looks as natural as it could. Like, it looks like his skin is actually white.
Right.
When they did this skin makeup, though, they intentionally made it look like makeup, and so it's clumpy and wrong, and his face wasn't quite moving as much. Oh, it's horrifying. But there's also the scariest death in this whole movie during this, as Napier's pissed and he's going to take out the rest of the criminals, basically. And he does the whole handshake thing with someone, and he's got one of the buzzers, and it literally fries this guy. This guy becomes a fucking skeleton right there. That still scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I knew it was
dude.
coming. I was expecting it, and it still freaked me out. So that's one of my favorite deaths in any Batman movie. Really, really good. So we find out that the Joker is trying to sell this new hygiene product called Smilex, that will cause people to die laughing and end up with the crazy grin that the Joker has. Joker soon realizes the connection between Batman and Vicky and invites Vicky to come to a dinner at the museum. While there, Joker gasses everybody else except for Vicky, and they all pass out. And we again get the second appearance of the skin makeup, except this time we see Jack wiping it off. And so for half the time, he's got like half of a face and not half of a face. Very fucking creepy. Also made me really feel like they were definitely hinting at the Two-Face thing.
Yeah, this scene, so good. Joker walks in with his fucking crew, and they're dancing to this Prince song, which also you mentioned the score earlier with Danny Elfman. Prince was brought in to do a few songs on the score, on the soundtrack for this movie. Didn't really like the other two. This one, though, for this scene was fucking awesome. It was so good.
It fit it so perfectly. It honestly reminded me a lot, not that, and I mean, this movie came out after, but it reminded me a lot of the Hip to Be Square scene from American Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Where the song doesn't necessarily fit what is occurring, but that's why it works so good, and it works so well to show I think the scene in the restaurant really shows Joker's just manic craziness so well.
And that's another thing is and I'm sure it'll pop up in other movies that we end up watching. I love not that this scene was very morbid, but just very morbid, especially like gruesome, graphic, violent murder scenes with very happy music playing in the background. Yeah, dude, I love that shit so fucking much.
Yeah, no, I do too. I'm a big fan of it. But so eventually Batman does break into the museum and rescues Vicky. They go back to the Batcave, where they kind of discuss how to save the city from the toxins. At this point, Vicky does not know that Bruce is Batman. And after he basically Batman recruits Vicky to help him out, Bruce decides he's going to go and tell Vicky who he is. But on his way to meet up with Vicky, the Joker arrives again. And we get one of the most iconic lines in any movie. And I don't know. People quote it a lot, but I don't feel like anyone really focuses on how great this one was. But we get the line of, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" As the Joker is about to kill Bruce. And that's the line that makes Bruce all of a sudden realize, oh shit, Jack Napier is the man who killed my parents. Great twist, in all honesty.
Did you like that?
I did. I liked it. I liked the way they revealed it, and again, I'm trying to almost remember how I watched this, the first time when I was 5 years old or 6 years old and watched it. But even this time watching it, I love the delivery of the "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
I love that line. I love the reveal. I did do like some research and like read and watched some other people's reviews of this movie for like the past like week or so. A lot of people hated this.
Really?
A lot of people hated Jack being the guy who killed Bruce's parents, and I don't really get that.
No, I don't either. I mean, I think that's No, I mean, I think I enjoy it too because they don't hit you over the head with the Bruce's parents stuff in this movie. Like you're aware of it. You get the flashback, whatever. But I enjoy the fact that the really big moment for this was finding out that Jack was his parents' killer. So yeah, no, I'm a fan of it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, they continue on though. Joker then tries to shoot Bruce, but Bruce survives thanks to a serving tray hidden underneath his shirt. And he escapes. Back at the Batcave though, this is where Bruce comes to the full realization of who the Joker is and what has happened. Bruce then decides that
is my least favorite part of the movie. Alfred brings Vicky Vale into the fucking Batcave. Now, I said earlier that I'm not going to focus too much on comics and the accuracy that they have on movies. But in no fucking universe would Alfred have allowed anyone into the Batcave without Bruce Wayne knowing about it.
No.
What?
No.
The fuck?
No. Alfred would have never fucking done that. That would have been such a violation of Bruce's trust. And like the way that Bruce just kind of is like, whatever.
He doesn't even fucking care. He's like, oh, hey, I'm Batman. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? No.
Oh. Which, like, I understand. Yes, he was going to go tell her earlier in the movie, and then shit happened. But yeah, I don't know. It upset me too. I agree. That's one of my biggest issues with this entire movie. Really, the end of this movie, I feel like is probably the weakest part of it.
Yep. And honestly, from that point on, for the rest, I did not like much of anything going on.
Yeah. Wasn't great. And so Bruce basically is like, I can't love you until the Joker is no longer on the loose. And Vicky is like, okay, Bruce. And so he leaves to go destroy the plant where the Smilex is being made. While Joker is out there basically giving out free fucking money to people so that he can kill them all. He puts it inside of these giant fucking parade balloons. Luckily though, we get the reveal of the Batwing. To help remove these balloons. I firmly believe that to record the Batwing scene, they literally went into a black room with a camera and some of those like fake stars that you stick on your ceiling. And they took one of the toys that came out with this, attached it to a string and just kind of pulled it up and down a little bit. And they were like, yeah, that'll work. They'll understand what we're going for with that, right? Yeah, that's fine.
It looked very bad.
That is one thing I wanted to mention is that this movie was one of the first movies to use miniatures a lot, which like for like the train crash scene and that stuff, they used miniatures to create that, which I love. This was not one of the good ones.
No.
No. So Joker somehow shoots down the Batwing, which crashes in front of a church because this is Batman and you can't have a full movie go by without seeing a church.
Yep.
Joker takes Vicky hostage, though. They're on the top of the church. They're fighting. He knows that Napier killed his parents. And that also means, when you think about it, that Napier created the Batman. And this then makes Joker realize that Batman is Bruce. Bruce and Vicky get pulled over the balcony of the church. And Joker tries to escape, getting onto a helicopter piloted by his idiots. But then we see, the one bat tool that we really see the entire time is the grappling hook, which he uses to pull Joker down, and Joker falls onto a gargoyle and then collapses to his death. Again, very poorly animated here.
Very rough.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it was 1989. What can you expect? And we end the movie with the police arresting all of Joker's men. We get the unveiling of the bat signal. We see Dent and Batman kind of become buddies, saying that they'll always work together and to use the bat signal. And we see that Vicky and Bruce are going to try to make it work. And that is Batman 1989.
That is Batman. Yeah. All right, let's get into the every episode segments for the first half of this episode. We'll go ahead and start it with what would you give this movie out of 10, Alex?
I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
And that is not a bad 6. That is I enjoy this movie, but it's not a great Batman movie.
No.
It's, you know, old heads can argue all they want about the Jack Nicholson being a great Joker, Michael Keaton's a great Bruce Wayne. Yes, all of those things are awesome. However, when you take the negatives, it doesn't feel like a comic book movie, and it doesn't feel like a superhero movie.
It's just an action movie with a guy named Batman.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is it almost doesn't even feel like that either, because it's like it's stuck between these areas, you know, between wanting to be a serious action film and wanting to be a comic book film,
right?
And it's just kind of weird. And again, I like this movie. I enjoyed rewatching it. You know, I think I'm probably going to enjoy rewatching every one of these Batman movies. But yeah, it just, something about it wasn't right. And it might be down to the directing. It might be down to the fact that Vicky Vale was just such a forgettable side character. You know, there's a lot of reasons why. But yeah, so I give it a solid 6 out of 10. A very well earned 6 out of 10.
I gave it a 6.5. So kind of the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as I kind of, you know, shit all over it, for the most part, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit. This is the Jack Nicholson show, like through and through. Like, if you cast anyone but Jack Nicholson in this role, I don't think it even comes close to being as good as it was.
No.
With that said, again, not great. Not a great Batman movie. Not a great movie. Not a great action movie.
No.
You know, I don't like Tim Burton. I don't like the way that his movies look. I did have moments where aesthetically I did like how it looked. I love the Batmobile in these movies. Fucking looks awesome. I honestly like the suit. I know there were some issues with like how it was designed and Michael Keaton being in it. But the actual like costume design for it, I enjoyed quite a bit. And I fucking love Jack Nicholson. Yeah. 6.5 out of 10 is what I would give it. Would I buy it on Blu-ray? Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think I would go out of my way to buy this. If I go to like a flea market or something like that and it's there on DVD, I'll grab it for a couple bucks. I don't think I would buy this movie, mainly because I hadn't watched this movie in probably 5 or 6 years going into watching it. And I could honestly see myself going another 5 or 6 years without wanting to watch it again. It was okay. Not something that I would actively seek out. I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, I can't say that I blame you. Especially with the fact that we're in the day and age where it's on HBO Max now. I'm probably always going to be on there. So yeah, a good movie. You know, fun to check out if you want something that you don't really have to think about while you watch. But there are definitely better Batman movies and definitely better ones coming.
Yep. But with that said, yeah, that is Batman. And now we're going to get into Batman Returns.